And I want to walk you all through a couple of new cataloging features that we have in Evergreen 3.9. So for the most part, the interface is going to be the same. When you're going through to add something, you're going to do it largely the way that you would have done it before. And I'm going to go ahead and just drop an ISBN in here. And so here's a book that I want to add holdings to. I'm going to go over here and click add holdings, just as I would have previously. And here's where it gets a little different. So instead of it all being kind of in one screen, we have the holdings, which is your call number and your barcode, separated into a different screen, then a different tab, than the item attributes, which took me a little bit to get used to, but I think it's a lot cleaner and I think it makes it a little bit more obvious what goes where. And so I like that. The other thing, and this is the big feature change in 3.9 for cataloging, is one of the things that has always sort of irked me as a trainer for Evergreen is that most libraries only use a small percentage of these various cataloging parameters. So now you can turn them off. For instance, most of our libraries don't use the call number or classification. We don't denote whether or not we're using Dewey or Library of Congress because everybody pretty much uses one and sticks with it. And that's really only useful if you're using more than one. And then when I come back over, then that is going to be removed here. We have a lot of libraries that don't use prefixes, suffixes, and parts. So I can just click to hide those, and then they're going to disappear from my display. This is all sticky. So as catalogers, you can set this up once with your login and your workstation, and then every time you come back to it, it's going to look like this. If you were like, oh, you know what, I really do need parts on this one, you can just unhide it and it comes right back. So then you can hide most of these various parameters and only have the ones displaying that are ones that you actually want to set. So I feel like that makes a much cleaner display and is going to make the lives easier for a lot of, especially new catalogers, as they come in and learn the system. They're only going to need to really learn the parts that they're going to interact with. And so I think that makes it a lot easier. And the templates work the same as before. Everything else is pretty standard. The print labels button has moved from the preferences over here, so you can turn this on and off, which is nice. And then you can apply all, save and exit. So I'm really happy with the improvements to this interface. And I think that it's gonna be a nice improvement in functionality for all of us. The other cataloging topic that I want to make note of is something that was added, which is MARC record notes. So we've had item notes for a long time. Record notes are if I want a note to be associated with this particular MARC record. So I might say that I removed some local information from the 590. I imported it from somewhere and I don't need that, so I deleted it, but I figure somebody might want to know one day that I did that. This public button doesn't do anything right now. There's not a way for the public to view them. The idea is to build in future functionality so you can check it or not, but it doesn't do anything right now. And then it's just going to save this note. And that will be available to anybody else in Spark who pulls up this particular record. So that can be a nice way to make a note if you made a change, or if there was a bad merge or something like that. Just any notes that have to do with the MARC record itself. Is there any questions, comments about this new interface? And we'll have more time for Q&A later.
Katie, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell if a note has been added to the record just by looking?
Let's see. It looks like you got to go to the tab.
Okay.
It doesn't look like it has like a little one or anything there. We could certainly make reports that would spit these out. So if you wanted to get a list of notes that have been added or something like that, we could do it that way. But it doesn't look like, unless you have this set to your default tab, which you can do, it looks like you would have to navigate to the tab to see it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I hadn't thought of that. That's a good question. It'd be nice to have like a little dot or something if it had notes.